guys, how are you today? Favorite rambling redhead, and I'm back in the world of the 21st century here. We live in Texas, and over Valentine's Day weekend we lost power for 64 hours. We kind of toughed it out here at the house for the majority of that. I'll explain that in a second. But we toughed out. We stayed here at the house. We didn't end up having to leave or anything. We learned a lot of stuff. I want to talk to you about it a little bit. So yeah, we went 64 hours. We had gas the whole time. We had water most of the time, and no electricity. So we did all the logical things. We covered up the windows in one room, moved me, my wife, and all three of our boys into our bedroom. So we were all in there for a few days together, and when power was out, the big boys actually ended up staying at my mother-in-law's last night. So we went over there to charge up some devices and warm up a little bit. And when we came home, our power was on. But the boys had decided to stay over there for the night with their uncle and their aunt and all that. So they'll be home in a little bit. But we learned some things, man. Our house here, built in 1953. It has no insulation. It has the original windows in it. And they didn't do well. So the lowest the house got to that I ever saw, which is just going off our thermostat in the living room, was 40 degrees. And that's cold, man. We all piled up in the bedroom. We, get here out of the wind a little bit. Piled up in our bedroom. And got all the blankets and everything out. And, we survived. We did it. So, man, I don't know. I got a lot to talk about. Where do I start here? I guess we'll start with what we were doing here. So we have gas in our house. So we have gas appliances. So we always had hot water because obviously that system's gas and water is all we need. It doesn't require any electricity. Up until yesterday, when the city just lost so much water flow because of everything, that we lost water pressure for 6 hours or so, and it came back in full force this morning. But we were having to boil our water for a couple of days until they get the treatment plants back up and running and all that kind of thing. So we're having that going on. The roads are slick. They're icy. Thankfully, my Ford Explorer, new tires on it, and all the work that I did on it in the past month or so, did great. Only exception being that it does not like it to start in the cold. Doesn't like to idle. I got to sit in it for a couple minutes give it a little bit of gas to get it really to idle. But other than that, I had a good laugh at FUD, my little Honda Civic beater, piece of junk car, $500 Civic. Put like 6, 7, 8, 10, I don't know, it drive the life out of the poor thing. Walked out to it, stuck in the key, boom, 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 fired right up, idled, but got a flat tire inside of gas. But hey, had no problems with the cold whatsoever. My wife's Suburban won't start. I gotta get up there and jump start it because it's got a bad body control module that drains the battery if it sits for more than a couple of days, and in the cold didn't help. So yeah, that's our vehicles. It's man, it was cold. It's kind of cold day. It's like 25 today, but we're supposed to get out of freezing tomorrow. I'm going to work this afternoon. I just let the birds out, so you may have noticed my chicken coop is not built for this kind of weather. It's very flowy. Lets air in and out. It's good for the birds in the summertime and whatnot. It's hot. But I got it wrapped in a tarp and backed up against my shop, so there's very little wind hitting it because most of the wind actually comes from this side back here in our area or from the house towards the coop, which is where half of that tarp is. So they haven't been terrible, other than they've been miserable because I've had them locked inside. I haven't really let them get out and walk around in the snow because I wanted to freeze up their little feet or anything. But now the power's back on. I got their heat lamp in there from when they were chicks in their box as well. So they have a little 4 foot by 4 foot by 3 foot box. It's all closed in that they pretty much spend all the time in. Their bedding's in there and they lay their eggs and that kind of thing. So that's all taken care of. Let's talk about the house. So we have been talking, me and the wife, a few years now, a couple years. We want to buy land, move to. I want to build a house. We'll probably end up buying a modular, that kind of thing. But we know we want to be a lot more self-sufficient. We grow food and animals, obviously, and things like that. And she was talking about how, this has really shown her all the things that we need in a house. Like, this house has no air sealing. We need that. This house has no insulation. We need that. These windows suck. We need better windows. They're all things that doesn't really, I think, make sense to do on this house, financially speaking. Resale value versus the cost of the improvements versus what you're actually getting out of the improvements, kind of thing. For an event like this is going to happen every 10 years. I don't know if it's really worth it. But we're probably going to buy a generator. Small one anyway. Find the irony that on her birthday we went looking at campers and didn't buy one. So obviously it wasn't financially reasonable. But had we had a camper, I could have just hopped up in the driveway with it, fired up the generator, and been a happy little camper out there this whole time. But yeah, but she was telling me about this and how we definitely need to have gas appliances and a generator and this and that. And I was like, well, if you go look at the house that I've drawn and designed, it's got that. It's got all of it. It's R40 walls, R22 floor, R40 some odd ceilings, central air and heat, all gas appliances, gas heat, gas water. I do think I do want to do a gas tankless, but it's still gas. And just because it does proof you for things like this, when it's had our house been properly insulated, probably went to bed. Our insulation sucks. It's terrible, but I never was in a position where the house was downright uncomfortable. We, put on a bunch of layers and sleep with a bunch of blankets, and we survived. It's no worse than some of the camping trips I've been on. But, yeah. So we did the terracotta pot thing, if you've seen that go around Facebook. And that worked. But here's a clip of that. All right, so I'm not planning to film any other clips until our power is back on. But we've got the pots going. There's a little 2-wick candle in there. Terracotta pot. So I got those two going. And I've got our big one over there that's got 2 candles in it. So the room right now is coming up on 60 degrees now in here. So it's warm. We're not doing bad at all. Probably 58. I'll say it's 42 according to my it's 42 according to the thermometer in the kitchen or the living room for the thermostat. You can see we got some little lanterns going on there, and we've got all the kids in here with us. Yeah. Hang on, Drake. But if I take this thermometer, stick it inside the pot. I don't know what the thermal value of these Walmart candles is, but look at that. Somewhere over 220 degrees inside those pots. The same with both. And they are definitely warm to touch. It's definitely warming the space up. But like the wood here in the desk is not hot or anything. And then same thing over there. That one's about 140 inside of it. So yeah, there you go. If you're curious about terracotta with the candles in it, after 50 hours, they're doing the trick. Yeah, I was very, very skeptical about the terracotta pots with candles working, but 2 big candles on that desk, which I was very cautious that it never got hot underneath those while it was 220 degrees air temp inside. Surface temperatures were cold. It never wasn't going to heat up and catch my desk on fire or my dresser on fire or anything. And then the larger one ended up with 3 candles in it. They all came from the dollar store by the time we were all said and done because we burned through all our normal candles. But yeah, there was a 10-15 degree difference after we had let those run for a considerable amount of time. All of the pots were hot to the touch, so they were radiating out some heat. And had our house been reasonably well insulated, I probably could have got that room up into the mid 60s if I had not been losing all that air through the windows and whatnot. So we did that, keep warm. I was really surprised. I really, really, really did not expect that to work, but then it did, so that was cool. So that was one of the trips we made out. That was day before yesterday. We went out, we did that, then we went to my work, hung out up there and charged stuff for the evening. So we come home and watch a movie and whatnot with the boys. And then yesterday we went to my mother-in-law's house in the afternoon and hung out with them for a little bit, charged everything back up, we weren't expecting the power to come back on till today. So having it come on last night was a real treat. But some of the other things we have food. So we don't call me a prepper because it's not what we are, but we were very prepared. We have a freezer full of frozen meat. We had a ton of vegetables frozen. We had a ton of fruit that was frozen. We had a ton of canned goods just on hand, just to have them on hand, and grains and such, and potatoes and all that kind of stuff. We keep it around, not necessarily intentionally to prepare for this kind of thing, but just we feel like we should always have food around. I don't think there should ever be a time in my household that we can't put something together. Oh, we don't have this ingredient or that ingredient. That's fine. My wife does a phenomenal job of throwing a meal together out of nothing. So we did that. And we ended up doing a perpetual soup the first afternoon. We started about 10 o'clock that afternoon. If you've never done a perpetual soup, think of all the medieval books you've ever read where they had a pot, cauldron over a fire with a soup going in it all day and all night. That's what we did. One, you get a little bit of heat in the kitchen from that fire running, which is nice. A big pot with water, seasonings, and broth. And I think the first day we had some chicken thawed out and threw in there, and some pork chops that were left over, and some broccoli. And I think we threw some rice in there on that first day for lunch. We threw it all in there. It sat for a couple hours. We had lunch out of that pot. After lunch, I added some more water, some more seasoning. We browned up some ground beef, and that went in there that afternoon. Some more vegetables and whatnot. Whatever. We were just go find what cans are on the shelf, open them up, add it to the pot. Go in so throughout that first and second day, the freezer and the refrigerator were doing just fine. The house was 40 degrees or so. So, they weren't having a real struggle to stay cold with the doors closed. Third day came around and was like, okay, you know what, we're probably pushing this a little bit. So we took all the meat went into one freezer, which is my large stand-up freezer, and it has had a turkey in it and a couple roasts that were still rock solid. And they kept that thing nice and cold. But we had some bags of vegetables that didn't fit. So those pre-chopped vegetables that we buy from Town Talk, because they'll have a great deal on zucchini. So I think one time we bought 6 pounds of zucchini and 6 pounds of squash for pennies, nothing. Chop it all up, bag it up, freeze it. They were in 1 pound, 1.5 pound bags. Pulled one of each of those out, I think, and those went into the soup. There was some other smaller, there was some ground beef and some pork. That went into the soup. Just the perpetual soup was great. We did end up making, night before last, we made spaghetti, just because the boys were tired of soup. But this perpetual soup, I'd never done it before. I knew it was a thing. We did it. It was great. I definitely would do it again. And then the other thing that we did a lot of was coffee. So when this all started, I went out to the barn and I got it on my camping gear. And in my camping gear, I have this thing called a My Joe, which is a hand-operated coffee pot. It's a K-cup Keurig pot. You just add hot water. You put the K-cup in it. I got a picture of it right here. But it's great. My wife got it for me when I was working at a job. They were taking our coffee away. And I could just get hot water out of the water cooler and make coffee at my toolbox. And it was fine. With it, and we've kept it around. We've used it when camping and stuff. But I have a kettle. I had that, pots, and gas, and we were gold. Now I've got a gas grill outside, and I borrowed a tank of gas that I ended up needing. I'm going to take back today. And we had no issues. I have a fire pit outside. And I have wood on stock that I could have fired up and I could have burned. I got all this stuff over here that's got to be gone through so I can get rid of it. But yeah, all in all, this was. For a lot of people, this was a real struggle with not having power. I sat and read my book from Chip Gaines. The boys definitely struggled not having power, having to sparingly use the power in their devices, not having their computers and their consoles and all that stuff, but only having phones. But all in all, we all did great. I was very proud of my whole household. Did a phenomenal job. Yeah. Chickens, I was really worried about. I didn't know if they were going to make it with it being this cold. The first night, Sunday night, I put the heat lamp in there with them just so they'd have it. But then power went out at 3 o'clock in the morning, so they didn't have that anymore until last night. Power came back on, but I went out there just a little while ago to feed and let them out. And it's not warm, but it ain't cold in there, so they did all right. Very proud of that. I was kind of worried I was going to lose them, but they laid through they've been laying the whole time. We've been eating fresh eggs every morning. I got a big griddle stone that lays across the stove that we've used. And I know a lot of people that have gone through this and have before have seen the things on Facebook. Could you live in this cabin with no internet, electricity for a month, and this, that, and the other? I tell you right now, my boys couldn't, but I am 100% confident that my wife and I could. Um, I feel like we did quite well. I'm not going to say we thrived, but we did quite well. Texas is not built for this cold. Our houses aren't built for it. Our plumbing's not built for it. Our utilities aren't built for it. Our municipalities can't handle it. And frankly, apparently our power system also can't handle it. Now, that's not a conversation of this video. It is something that I've researched probably more than I need to the last few days, but I've had time. But there's some things going on in the power system in Texas. It's not super cool, but that's not for me to be worried about. But yeah, so I'm gonna go out here. I'm put all my camping stuff away now. I gotta put my terracotta pots away, and I gotta work this afternoon. Well, I'm going to work this afternoon. Had my first shower in 4 days now. That was nice a little while ago. Hot shower. We are having to boil our water for a couple days. Just no big deal. Last night we were boiling snow for the toilets when we got home. That was quite humorous. My little one didn't quite grasp what we were doing there. When me and my wife were in the backyard with pots, filling them with snow, and then melting the snow and then putting it in a jug next to the toilet. He didn't really understand what that was about. But yeah, all in all, very proud of our family. I'm glad this wasn't as big of an ordeal as it could have been, because this could have been way worse. I do have quite a bit of driving experience in snow and ice from delivering pizza for a few years. I got pretty decent at it, so that also helped a lot. I was able to go around, I had to go get gas from my in-laws' generator and, things like that. But yeah, guys, back. Look. Woo, hey, that's still icy. Calm down, rubber. They're in here, they're warm. They got some eggs over there in the corner. I can't see in this corner. You go there. I don't see any. But they're doing good. Out here, they eat to stay warm. Alright, try not to die on that slip spot there. Yeah, all in all, it hasn't been terrible. Kids had a lot of fun playing in the snow. We got a ton of dirty laundry. Well, it's not really dirty, it got wet. But that's going to be taken care of. But kind of worried that our washing machine froze up. It was doing some unusual dripping that I think may be a valve that is frozen up. I had my lovely door here because the sliders are broken on my shop door, so I can't close the door on it, and it's a project for the summer to build some doors for it. So right now I got snow in my shop, unfortunately. But that's gonna about wrap it up for me today. I think I'm gonna throw up my drone real quick and get a little bit of drone footage of the area, let you guys see what it kind of looks like in Texas with more snow than we should ever have. And hopefully in 10 years when this happens again, because it seems to happen every 10 years or so, the state's more prepared, the power grid's more prepared, and I will definitely be more prepared. I don't know if I'll still live here, but wherever I live will be insulated. We'll have a generator for backup, and I've decided I'm not going to get a 500-gallon propane tank. I'm getting 1,000. And we're filling that bad boy up in November. So anyway, that's going to do it for me. I'm going to go inside and get ready for start my work day here. I got some work stuff I got to do this morning before I go into the office at lunchtime. So it's been a great day. It's been a great week. It could have been way worse. It was way worse for a lot of people. We survived. We did a good job of it, I think. All right, I've been your favorite Rainbow Nighthead, and I'll catch you later. Bye.